Hey guys, and welcome back to Let's Build Erebor. Now, the story so far is this. We've got ourselves a lonely mountain, and in the first episode, I terraformed that from nothing. We grew the mountain with cubes and the brush tool in World Edit. Then we cleared out an area in front of the mountain to put down the town of Dale. Now, Dale is a human settlement that just resides just outside of Erebor. And we've actually gotten quite ambitious with this. If you look and see, it's actually quite a huge area that we set out for Dale. Now, I've also carved an area in front of the mountain as well. That's going to be the entrance to Erebor. We've got a nice flat plane of rock that's really just suitable for us to carve into and build the entrance to Erebor itself. Now, in between this episode and last, I completed the wall, and it was such a colossal job. I didn't realise how much extra work it was going to be just filling in the gaps for those wall sections that I hadn't built, but I finally got it done. And as you can see, it's changed shape ever so slightly. Some of the sections that were previously diagonal, I've changed into straight line sections of wall, and that's because building the walls diagonally was a very tricky task. It took a lot of extra time, and so in areas, I made it just flat and straight instead. Now, the river runs through it that comes down from the mountain, and there's the long lake at the bottom there as well. But also, there are two breaks in the wall where the river enters and exits Dale. And those are what we're going to turn our attention to first thing. We're going to build a kind of bridge section to the wall that lets the guards that are patrolling the top cross over it. And like with the rest of Dale, I've stuck with this kind of stone brick and sandstone effect. I've gone for a kind of casual arch here with stone brick steps, and kept some of those stone brick crenellations on the bridge parts. Toyed around with sandstone steps until I found something that I liked, and then filled in the middle of the bridge with this kind of portcullis wooden fence effect. Now, I took the wooden fences up to the top of the bridge as well, because I wanted to build a kind of canopy for this bridge area. So I built those fences to support the canopy, and then I set about creating the wooden canopy. Now, I just used birchwood, which is what we've used for the floors on top of the walls. And it looks good here, but it is something I did come back to change later on. Now, I wasn't quite happy with just a plain old peaked roof with two sides and two flat planes, so I modified the corners a bit to have this weird kind of curvature that leans down. And you can see what I mean right now here when we kind of pan across. It looks kind of like an upside down boat. And I also added wooden fence posts at the corner of those boat corners, which you can also see here as we copy and paste it over the other gates. I added those wooden fence posts to support the structure a little bit more. And here is the finished bridge effect. Now, another thing that you'll see when you watch back The Hobbit, if you have it, or if you've seen it before, you'll notice that there are really large, really tall sandstone guard towers on the walls of Dale. And since the movie version is the version that I'm being predominantly faithful to, I wanted to recreate those guard towers on the corners and edges of my walls. And I set about doing that by building upwards with a combination of chiseled sandstone, that's sandstone with those kind of runic symbols, for the corners of the guard tower, and then normal sandstone in the middle to kind of give it a bit of variation but keep it straight. Here you can see the design. And that kind of lip at the top, not quite crenellations, out of sandstone steps and etched sandstone. Now that's the tower almost complete, but on top of the tower, I want a kind of peaked roof. And then when looking at the movie again, and shots of Dale, pictures of Dale, I realized that the wood on the guard towers was dark. So I used spruce instead to create this pyramid on top of the guard tower. But then I took a step back, had a think, and then scrapped it all, because sometimes you have to be bold enough to go back to the drawing board and start again. I realized that the pyramid was too big, it was too wide. So I came back here and I made a smaller one with a smaller diameter. And here you can see it in its finished glory, one of the guard towers on the walls of Dale. Now that's a design I was going to replicate, and you can see me here adding another one to the left. Obviously I didn't add it right there with some kind of magical ghost ray. I used world edit. And then I came around to the other parts of the wall and finished up adding towers all around the edge. And I also changed the canopies on the bridge section to be a wood that matches that of the roofs of the guard tower. That spruce dark wood. And there you go. That's all the guard towers we're going to put on the walls for now. But I may do something with the barracks of Dale and try and incorporate it into the wall with a kind of grander, larger guard tower. One guard tower to rule them all. So then I came back to the front of Dale, the part that faces Erebor, or what will be Erebor, and I cut away some of the wall that's going to be the gate. I then put down some white wool, and don't worry, I'm not making the roads of Dale out of white wool, but I need a bright material to map out the roads with so that I can see clearly where I plan to go, and so that you guys at home can see clearly how the regions are going to be mapped out. Now I came into Dale with the white wool road, and then walked a little bit towards what was going to be our rich residential area, then branched off in a T-shape in the other direction and built a makeshift bridge out of wool towards what would be our kind of government official building area. Then I painted some wool road into the middle, which was going to lead to the trade district, and then I set about creating this kind of balcony for the rich residential area. I want the rich residential area to be above all the other areas. This is going to be a cliff kind of stone brick terrace that's going to lean over the rest of the town, so that all the rich civilians and denizens of Dale can look down upon the city and just see the town in motion and the people going about their daily lives. Now I wanted the roads around the trade area to be a bit snaky, to be a bit irregular, because we're not only going to have shops here like blacksmiths and things, we're also going to have trade zones, market zones, and places where the dwarves can come out and ship their wares, because most of Dale's wealth is predominantly built on Erebor's prosperity. So the dwarves that live there need a place to come out here and peddle their wares, and travellers that want dwarven goods, fine dwarven swords, and exceptional dwarven helms can come to Dale and invest in some top dollar equipment. So I snake back around with some more white wool, and then to the right off the screen is where we're going to put the cheap residential area, the kind of slums area of Dale. Although I don't think there are really any slums in Dale per se, but it's definitely going to be smaller houses, slightly poorer. And then fringe the edge of the government district there on the left with white wool that will also be a road, and that's going to be a kind of terrace as well, up higher than the rest of the town. And then built the white wool back around, snaking to the trade district, and again this kind of snaky terrace around the edge of the landmass there, bordering the river. And then a road leading into the cheap residential area where we're going to put the kind of slum style houses. And there you go. Oh man, Dale is starting to look like it might actually be a reality. We've got guard towers keeping a vigilant watch, although there's no guards in there yet. These guys are going to have no problem defending from any dragon. If Smog comes and attacks, well, he's going to get owned. We built bridges over the river, canopied those suckers, and mapped out our zones with a little bit of elevation and a little bit of style and a slightly different approach to how we're going to build our Dale. So, this has been Let's Build Erebor, and we've been mapping out the zones, putting down the guard towers. I've been Sjin, thanks for watching. Hit like and favourite if you want to see more. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.